Business 101 students, hi, Catherine Robertson here, coming at you for Chapter 4. All right, so Chapter 4 and Week 4. So if you are finishing up, hopefully you will finish Chapter 3 items. This week also includes spring break. There are a few things on the docket this week that I want you to be aware of. First of all, we have a Chapter 4 video. I did move around. If you go up into the course-specific content, I made a few changes to the calendar, but I will run through those, or not to the calendar, to our syllabus, but I will run through that in this week. Last week, I just had Chapter 3 due instead of Chapter 4. This week for Chapter 4, which is due on the 8th, right? So Eclipse Day, Chapter 4 homework is due. So not for a while, but you are welcome to turn it in before that. And there are a few things this week. I'm going to introduce the project, and there is the project rubric. The project relates to the company that you chose in the discussion 1. We will save discussion 2 for next week, week 5, which is the week we get back from spring break. All right, so this week there is a video. It's about 15 minutes long. It's called Business Ethics and Oxymoron. So before you chime into reading Chapter 4 from the text and then also reviewing the PowerPoint, which I will go through, and before you do Chapter 4, please go ahead and watch the video. It is a professor talking about, in 2020, talking about relating to how can we do good for the common for all of us, right? As well as doing well for businesses. So that is the gist of the video. The Chapter 4 reading material and also the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint goes into business ethics and social responsibility, doing well by doing good. And so there are a lot of questions relating to businesses and how they operate. And so a couple of things that happen in Chapter 4 are we're looking at ethics and this idea of universal ethical standards. And when you look through Chapter 4, you will touch base with some things relating to business ethics and this idea that there is an application of right and wrong, good and bad, in a business setting. And sometimes we tend to forget that. Also, in Chapter 4, there is something called the legal ethical matrix. And this is actually Exhibit 4.1. And so there are items that are considered legal and unethical, right? Such as producing products that will break before their time. There's things that are considered legal and ethical. So legal and unethical, legal and ethical, right? Which is the highest form that we can be, legal and ethical, right? Leading by example, rewarding integrity. There's things that are considered illegal but ethical, such as collaborating with medical clinics, collaborating with other medical clinics to provide low cost or provide any type of services to low income areas. So we have legal and unethical, legal and ethical, illegal and ethical, and then we have illegal and unethical. So 4 different things in this matrix. Things that are illegal and unethical: embezzling money, right? Engaging in any type of sexual harassment. Those are illegal and unethical. We have things that are legal but unethical. So they're not that much better, but they are legal, right? Paying non-living wages to workers in developing countries. So those types of things. Thinking about, a lot of what goes on with capitalism is considered unethical, but a lot of it is not illegal. Right? Some of the things that we consider as universal ethical standards: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Do we think of those when we think of our modern day business world? Hopefully, but sometimes, those areas they're hard to come by, even by those of us that are not in the business world, right? Being caring, being kind. Are businesses kind and compassionate? Are people kind and compassionate, right? And so holding businesses to those standards is even more tricky, right? So thinking about ethics and building an ethics within the culture of a business. Some businesses, schools as well, have something called a formal code of ethics. So a formal written document that defines the ethical standards of an organization. And the other thing that we tie into ethics in business is this idea of social responsibility. And so some businesses really like to showcase that they are proactive in their contributions to society, and they want to showcase their ethical behavior, whereas other businesses are not that involved in showcasing ethical behavior, and it could be because they don't have much or just because they're not showcasing it. And other businesses really try to duck the limelight because maybe they aren't contributing at all to ethical practices or proactive ethical practices. And so one of the things that's mentioned in this chapter is also Sarbanes-Oxley, the act that came out in 2002 that basically starts to crack down a little bit on unethical practices by CEOs. And this is really on the heels of a lot of different activity that happened in the 90s, some landmark cases like Enron, some accounting irregularities that happened with big corporations that actually either cost jobs or cause market fluctuations, the stock market. Sustainable development, right? And this idea of a carbon footprint. Things that we all know to be untrue, something that is happening right now with Boeing. Bribery and corruption, right? Particular bribery. And so thinking about those items, those are not good. People refuse to fly on Boeing planes because they do not like to be associated with those types of, and that's what we get to in our, we see playing out in the news right now. And this idea of a social audit. And this is really society or consumers in general evaluating how well a firm is meeting its ethical and social responsibility goals. And so we see that playing out by people not wanting to fly on Boeing planes. And so when you go through chapter 4, be thinking about some of those ethical ideals. And then the chapter 4, I do have a few questions for you to submit. Now you do have until the 8th, you will notice, to submit those. All right, and last but not least this week, we have the business project. I will formally introduce the business project in week 5, but I wanted to put it up there for you to start to review. Again, this is a 2 to 3 page document on the company and kind of outlining the company that you chose, and I will be going back through those in discussion 1 and reviewing some of those companies and making comments before we get into discussion 2, which then will be in week 5. So I will talk a little bit more about the project and the rubric for week 5. As we round out week 4, though, make sure you are getting caught up and know that your homework is due when we get back from break. So if you want to submit it early and just get it out of the way at some point this week, you are welcome to do so. We will begin. I will touch base with you at the end of this week, and then probably prior to starting back up like the 6th or the 7th of April, just to make sure everybody is back and on board. I will be on campus the morning of the 8th, but, we will resume regular classes then that week after the eclipse. So everybody have a safe evening, and I will get back at you by the end of the week. As always, email me with questions, crobertson@ec3pa.org. Or send me a text, 814-490-6473. I am on campus this week, West Campus, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So if you need me for something, please reach out. Thanks.